We had a little slideshow about how to have difficult conversations, and I've seen some things happen around the dealership and around the location that make me want to just kind of swing back around and revisit that a little bit and give you guys a reminder and give you guys some tools for how to deal with these difficult conversations that are bound to come up. The basis of my talk today is based on the idea that if we're honest with ourselves, part of us wants to be a coward. Part of us just wants to avoid that difficult conversation. We would rather talk about someone than we would talk to someone. So when a conflict happens, what do? We talk about it with our 5 best friends. We go to their supervisor and try to get him in trouble. It's just human nature. It's what we do. But that's not the way we want it done around here at Prairie Land. The first question out of your supervisor's mouth when you go talk to him about it, whether you're talking to Jeff or Dave or Todd, should be, have you talked to them? You know, things happen, conflict happens. We don't want a bunch of yes people around here. It's the differences among us that make us better. So if you feel differently, speak up. We can deal with it. Just because you disagree doesn't mean that it's wrong or whatever. So feel free to speak up and voice your opinion. But differences are bound to occur. And what happens is when these differences occur and conflict happens, people don't talk to each other. They start talking about each other, and it's not beneficial. It makes the conflict worse, because in my experience, the conflict doesn't get any better. It just goes underground, and it stays underground for a long time, and then boom, it surfaces again somehow. So it's best to, after you've had that difficult conversation, after you've had that situation, my advice to you is go back to that person one-on-one. Go to them in their space. Go to their workbench where they are and visit with them and say, hey, are we okay? A couple of days ago, we were talking about, you said I borrowed your tool and didn't return it, but I gave you that tool back. Are we okay with that? And if you're receiving this information, if you're the one that's been hurt, this is no time to take the cowardly way out. Be honest and say, I don't think you gave me that tool back. This is no time to stuff it underground or save it up for later when you can really use it to your advantage. Be honest and say, I don't think I got that tool back. That's the perfect time. So circling back around, and checking your accounts is the right thing to do. If you're not comfortable in that situation, and most people aren't comfortable talking to someone else about the way they've been hurt or admitting the way they've been hurt, come get me, get Jeff, get Dave, get Todd. We will go with you to talk to that person. We won't do the talking ourselves, but we'll be there to support the conversation, and we'll be there to help. Our propensity is to talk about people and not to people. That's something that we've got to change. I'm just going to recap a little bit some of those tools that we talked about a couple months ago upstairs. If you remember, difficult conversations happen because there's a part of us that says, accept me the way I am, take it or leave it, this is me. There's also a part of each one of us that says, I can be better tomorrow than I am today. And unfortunately, those two needs collide when we hear things being said or when we hear things we don't like. And when we hear things we don't like, all of a sudden, boom, our internal voice pops up. And the more we disagree with what's being said, the louder our internal voice gets, and we just start tuning everything else out around us. So there's 3 things that most everyone does. Just going to revisit them here real quick. Skillful wrong spotting. When someone's telling a story and says, hey, last week when you were working on that round baler, you told me X, Y, Z, and it was wrong. I should have done 1, 2, 3. And you're receiving this thinking, what? I was on PTO last week. He's got me confused with someone else. That guy's crazy. Skillful wrong spotting says we're not going to look for the 10% of truth and the 100%. We're going to take it all and throw it in the trash. The other thing we do is about relationships. We start saying, well, who is he to tell me anything? Well, I've been working on balers my whole life. He just started last week. What's he know about anything, And because we start filtering it based on who it's coming from. So that's something else. That's a trap we got to watch out for. It's what the internal voice in our head is screaming. Who is he to be telling me how to do something? And the other thing we need to keep in mind is everyone has a different sensitivity. If you remember, I talked about everyone's got a baseline. They're all at one spot. That's kind of where they are. Then they get agitated, and then they swing. We have some people, particularly some guys in the shop, that are really good on getting people stirred up, and they swing out. The question remains is how long is it going to take them to recover and get back to normal? So we can do skillful wrong spotting. We can filter it based on who it's coming from. And we have to remember everyone has a different sensitivity. So you've been given some bad news you don't like. There's been a conflict. Some things were said. You overheard someone saying something, whatever. What do I do about it now? You've got three options. One option is to accept it. Maybe you choose to accept the 10%. Maybe you don't. You can accept all or part of it. It goes either way. Another option you've got is to postpone it and say, not right now. I got some other things on my plate I'm working on right now, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're right. I'm just not going to deal with it right now. I'm going to go to hay school this winter. I'm going to get trained up, and maybe we'll come back and we can talk about, that thing you're saying. So we can accept it, we can postpone it, or we can reject it. We can just take the whole thing and throw it all in the trash and say, I'm not going to deal with this right now. It's not big enough for me. I've already recovered. I'm back to my baseline. This is a non-issue for me. I'm going to throw it in the trash and move on down the road. So hopefully this helps. When problems do come up, whether it's between coworkers, with family, with your friends, with customers, whatever the case may be, let's try to resist the urge to talk about someone and talk to someone. That's all I got. Thanks.